So first up, let us start with private goods and public goods. And by the end of this video, our target would be to understand what are private goods and public goods and why the market succeeds in producing the right optimal quantities of private goods, whereas why the market fails to produce the optimal quantity of public goods. Now, I mentioned in the previous video that private goods are defined as those goods which are rival and excludable, whereas public goods are non-rival and non-excludable. So naturally, we need to understand what is this concept of rivalry and excludability. Well, these are extremely simple concepts, and I will explain them to you through this imaginary example where we will assume that there is this market or shop for apples, and these dot represents all the total amount of apples that are available at this shop. Now assume that there is a queue of customers waiting for their turn to get in and buy as many apples as they want. And let's assume this first person goes in and buys a few of these apples, then the other person goes in and buys some more apples, and then the next person, he buys a couple of more apples. Now this last person in the queue should start to get worried. Why? Because maybe by the time it comes to his turn, and then maybe all of these apples are gone, they are consumed. So the simple idea that we want to take out from this example is that, look, apple is the sort of product that if more of it is consumed by one person, then the quantity or amount left for others will get lesser and lesser. And that is the property of rivalry. Any product, if more of it is consumed and less is then left for other people, then that product is said to be a rival product, or it possesses the quality of a rivalry. Whereas excludability is again a simple idea. Again, let us go back to this imaginary market of apples. Let's assume when this last person gets his turn, then there are still a few apples that are available. But if this person doesn't have enough money to pay for these apples, then the shopkeeper will not let him take away these apples. He will not sell it to them. And that is, this shopkeeper or seller or producer, once he has made these apples, he can exclude or prevent or stop somebody from using it if he wants. And basically the way he does that is by putting a price. If you can't pay the price, you cannot enjoy the benefit of this product. You cannot consume this product. And that is what excludability is, that once a product is produced, if you can prevent or stop somebody from consuming it, then that product is said to be excludable. Now, the main way in which products are made excludable is by attaching a price, but there can be other ways. You can put age limits, but we don't want to get into all of that. All we need is that, look, private goods, simply they are goods which are rival and excludable. And most of the goods that you would be able to think of will be rival, they will be excludable. And that is why I said almost 90% of the goods are private goods. Now, all along, when we have been talking about this model of demand and supply and how beautiful the free market system is and how it works automatically to give you the best optimal quantity, now all along we have been assuming that we are talking about a private good. Now, we explicitly did not make that assumption simply because most of the goods, as we are now saying, are private goods. But why does this property of rivalry and excludability allow the market to allocate and produce the right quantity of private goods? Well, again, the same ideas that we have been developing throughout this course applies. These consumers and producers are self-interested, greedy individuals. They will not pay a price more than the value they see in the product. The seller will not sell it for a price below that. And since all of the benefits and costs of this product are falling on these greedy, self-interested producers and consumers, let them fight it out. When they do the best for themselves, they're automatically going to end up doing the best for the society. So when they decide that, look, this is going to be the equilibrium quantity, it means that your resources are being used in the best possible way if you produce this Q star. Now, importantly, all of this also assumes one very broad assumption. Again, we haven't mentioned this before. This all assumes that there is full information in the market of this product. Now, this full information is an important concept. It will become even more important when we talk about merit and demerit goods. But all it means is that these consumers and producers, they are not stupid people. They are sharp, intelligent, clever people who know all the advantages and disadvantages of either consuming or selling this product. Nothing is hidden from them. They are not mistaken when it comes to what are the advantages or disadvantages of consuming a particular product. And then we add this assumption that, look, they are greedy, they are self-interested, they are fully informed, so let them decide through demand and supply how much of a good they want. So that's the story of private good. But more importantly, we want to understand what these public goods are and why do they lead to market failure. Now, these public goods, remember, we said non-rival, non-excludable. Now, non-rivalry is, of course, the opposite of rivalry. But this is a confusing idea because if you think about it, non-rival product, that would mean that as you consume more and more of a product, the amount left for others, it doesn't decrease. And similarly, non-excludability. It means that once the product has been produced, you can't stop anybody from benefiting from it. Whether he can pay the price or not, there is no way to exclude or stop somebody from consuming or benefiting from it. Now, if you're trying to think about it and finding it difficult to find an example, then don't worry, because these public goods are very rare. And the few classic examples, and the ones that the examiner will bring up again and again in your exams, one of them is the example of a street light. So let me explain non-rivalry and non-excludability through this example of a street light. Now, just imagine that there is a street and there is a street light, and there are a few people who are passing along this street. Now, if this person is benefiting and consuming the street light, and this person is also benefiting and consuming the street light, and then there comes in another third person and a fourth person, then the amount of light available for each of these individuals, it doesn't get lesser as more and more people get onto the street. They are still getting and consuming the benefit of this light. So this street light is non-rival. There may be another person who comes in, but the amount left for all of these other people, it is not getting lesser and lesser. On the other hand, the street light is also non-excludable, because it does not matter whether you are rich or poor or a criminal or a nice person. If you pass through this road, you will benefit from this street light. You will consume it. Nobody can stop you from doing it. Nobody can put a price that, look, if you don't pay a price, then I won't allow you to see using the light that is coming down from the street. If you're passing on from the street, you will consume and benefit the street light. Nobody can stop you. So non-excludable. So that is the explanation of what is non-rivalry and non-excludability. So street light is a public good. Now, why does the market fail to produce this street light, or I should say, why does the market fail to produce it in the right quantity? Well, to understand that, let's assume that there is no street light on this road, but there are these 4 houses. Now, of course, all of them would benefit if we have a street light over here, and therefore there is this whole street becomes well lit. Then all of these houses will benefit. But the problem is that if this guy over here thinks about buying a street light, then he will also think that, look, once the street light has been placed over here, and let's assume that this is the only place where it can be placed, then it is not only him that will get benefit from the street light. This house, this house, this house, they will all get benefit from the street light, and he cannot stop them in any way. He cannot exclude them from benefiting. And similarly, no matter how much of light this guy wants to consume or tries to consume, he cannot sort of consume all the light, so nothing is left for all of these other people, because this is a non-rival product. No matter how much of light this guy uses, the amount available for others is still there. It is not even getting lesser. So non-rival, non-excludable product. The problem it creates is that this greedy, self-interested consumer would think that, look, why should I go and buy and pay for this street light? Because I will wait, and I will wait for this person to go and buy the street light. He will also benefit from it. He also wants it. And when he buys it, then I will consume this light for free. He won't be able to exclude me, and this light is non-rival. I don't care how much light he uses. The amount available for me will still be there. But this guy will think in the same way, why should I go and pay for the street light? Let him go and buy the street light, and then I will get it for free. And the story goes on and on and on. And this is simply known as the free rider problem, that once you say that a good is non-rival and non-excludable, then nobody will be willing to actually go and pay for it. They all want this product, they all benefit from it, but they will all wait that, look, let somebody else buy it. I will be the one who will benefit from it because it is non-rival, non-excludable. Why should I pay for it? So everybody tries or wants to free ride, and what happens therefore is that nobody actually goes to the market willing to pay a price for the street light. And demand, remember we said, is the willingness and ability to pay for a product. So a public good, the market will fail, the system of demand and supply will fail simply because there is going to be no demand. Nobody is going to be willing to pay a price to buy this street light. They're all waiting to free ride. So when there is no demand, there is going to be zero production. Total market failure. The market doesn't produce any public good at all. So that is the link that you need to remember. That is what the examiner will ask. What is the public good and why does the market fail? So you just explain it is non-rival, non-excludable, explain those ideas through this example, and then tell the examiner, the people, they will wait to free ride, nobody will be willing to pay for it, so therefore there will be no demand for it, total market failure, zero amount of this public good will be produced. So the other classic example that you will see in the exam is defense forces. Once you have a defense force, it is protecting the borders of your country, then anybody within those borders will be protected. Nobody can be excluded. Similarly, if there are already 10 people and 15 more people enter this country, as long as these borders are protected, the amount of defense available for anybody else will not get lesser and lesser. So defense is another classic example that the examiner will bring in. So what is the solution to this market failure? How can the government interfere and ensure that these goods are produced? Well, since the market has totally failed, zero output of public good, then there is only one way for the government. And the government needs to provide this good. So we call that self-provision or government self-provision. So this is the first instance where we are saying that, look, there is also a case for government sometimes to not just interfere through tools of taxes and subsidies and so on and so forth, but jump into the market and make the good yourself. Otherwise, these public goods will not be produced at all.